Hello, Schmoeville, and welcome to our Schmoeville Google Chat Hangout, where we, a bunch of Schmoevillians, get together and talk about the major topic of discussion from last week's Schmoes Know show. So for those of you that tuned in, you know that Christian, Mark, and the gang talked about Game of Thrones, Season 6. It just ended. We're all bereft, and the only way to deal with it is to keep chatting. So I have gathered together this group of Schmoevillians, big fans just like myself, and we're going to talk about some of our favorite moments from the season, some of the things that maybe didn't work, best performances, best episodes, that battle, that finale, all of it right here, right now. So to get us started, we're going to go down the line, introduce ourselves. Everybody say your name, where you're streaming from, whether you're a book reader or not, because that definitely, colors how we watch the show and takes part of how we discuss it. And then, just for the fun of it, how about which Westerosi house you would most likely belong to? So I'll start us off. My name is Rachel Cushing. You've seen me around Schmoeville. I'm actually one of the co-runners of the new and improved schmoesknow.com. Thanks to everybody who's been involved with that. I'm thrilled to be the moderator for this discussion because I am a massive Game of Thrones fan. I write a review, recap every week on it. My friends are always coming to me because I've read these books dozens of times altogether. I'm a huge fan of the show adaptation as well. And if I could belong to any house, it would be House Mormont. And no, that's not just because Lyanna Mormont stole the season. I would have chosen it anyway. So let's start with Adam.
Hey, I'm Adam. I'm from Oklahoma, and I started during season 4, so I haven't read the books, but if I had to pick a house, it would be probably Tarly, like Samwell.
Nice.
Yeah.
Ben?
All right, I'm Ben Maliske. I'm from Bismarck, North Dakota. I've read every single book. Huge fan of Game of Thrones, obviously. I belong to a house. It might be Bolton because I like to skin people in my free time.
Watch out
No, seriously. I think I'd be a Stark, so.
Nice. Frank?
My name is Frank Janisch. I'm from Chicago. I have not read the books, but I know a little bit about the books. I started watching the show since season 1, and if I was part of a house, it would be House Stark according to some online quiz I took. So that's what I got.
There you go. Jason?
Hey, I'm Jason Cain, hailing from Kansas City, Missouri, and I'm strictly a show watcher. I have all the books on audiobook right now, but just haven't even gotten around to touching them. And I guess if I would be a part of a house, not really by my personality or anything, but I have an irrational love for Natalie Dormer, and so House Tyrell, maybe, even though they're mostly toast now, so.
All right, Jen?
I'm Jen Kemp. Here we stand up in Boston. I am a book reader and show watcher. I started watching at the break in between season 3 and 4. I took a sick day, and then I just took 2 more days to watch the entire seasons 1 through 3, and I've been obsessed ever since. And obviously, I would also be a House Mormont because I am hopelessly devoted to this show, and it gives me nothing back. So.
Go for it, Kristen.
Hi, I'm Kristen Smith. I'm from Clarkston, Michigan, and I have read some of the books, but not all of them, because I don't really want to catch up since he's not writing anything, apparently. And I would be in House Stark because I'm from the north, and winter is always coming.
Feel ya.
And Cole. Oh.
Hello, everyone. My name is Cole Boone. I hail from the great state of New Hampshire. Almost all book 1. That's about it. But I actually started that book, oh my gosh, like 4 years ago. So I'm kind of out of it. And if I had to choose a house, I'd have to go with the popular pick tonight and go with House Mormont or Stark, because I feel like that fits my personality the best.
All right, so that's our panel, guys. What we're going to do is we're going to talk for probably the next hour, maybe more. I don't know. I can talk about Game of Thrones for a lot longer than that, but we'll try to keep this wieldy. We'll do 3 rounds. The first round is just going to be our general thoughts, kind of, Collider spoiler talk style. People talk about the things they liked about the seasons, the things that maybe didn't work for them, give out some awards. Then we're going to do some rapid fire questions where I'll aim questions at specific panelists. And then to top the entire hangout off, I have a little quiz, Schmoedown style, for our panelists. So we'll see how they do with that. So stay tuned all the way to the end because you'll want to see that. To start off, let's just go big. Let's go, what did we love about this season? Everybody, just bullet point the main things so we can get down the line, make sure everybody gets their say. And yeah, just, why was this season so awesome? Adam, why don't you start us off?
Just everything from the dialogue to the battles. Mostly the last 2 episodes, just really hooked me. So it's probably tied with season 4. That's my favorite. And Tyrion too, I guess. He always has the great lines. Whenever he's making the jokes with Grey Worm and all of them. It just adds a lighter tone to the show that you kind of need. And then another good part would probably be Jon Snow coming back, obviously, because I didn't read the book, so whenever he did die, I didn't think he was going to come back. And then, obviously, after all the rumors and stuff, I got really excited. And then, so I love where his story's going, and yeah, those are one of my highlights.
Nice. All right. Ben, why don't you give us a shot?
All right. I felt like this season had a little bit stronger emotional moments than previous seasons, whether it was the heartwarming moment between Jon and Sansa when they got reunited, or the tears that most people probably cried when Hodor died, or 1-1. You got some awesome, badass, pump your fists in the air moments like Arya feeding the Frey pies to Lord Walder. I don't want to be Ellis here. But yeah, feeding the Frey pies to Lord Walder. I like that they didn't waste any time bringing Jon back. I felt like it was kind of apparent that he is going to be coming back. He's one of the really 3 biggest characters, probably with Dany and Tyrion. They weren't going to just kill him off, I don't think. But so I like that they went straight with that and brought him back right away too.
Nice. Frank, what did you love about this season?
What I really loved is that they really started to accelerate the storylines right off the bat. I like seeing Jon come back. I think it was at the end of episode 2. That was really nice to see. And then they answered some questions that people have been wondering about, Hodor and Jon's parents. So those were things I enjoyed seeing. And obviously, the Battle of the Bastards. That was just movie quality, cinema quality, movie stuff that you don't typically see in TV shows. So I really just liked the season as a whole. I didn't really find any, personally me, weak spots. So this is by far my favorite season so far.
Nice. Jason, what about you?
Well, I really like how basically this season you start to see the end game and you're getting more answers than in other seasons. And you have some of the most iconic episodes, I think, that we'll look back on and think of those are some of the all-time best episodes of Game of Thrones. So, I wouldn't say it was my completely favorite season, but it definitely top 3.
Nice. Jen?
Well, on top of what everyone has said so far, I would like to point out just there have been some fabulous cameos this season between Ian McShane with Brother Ray, little Lyanna Mormont, who stole everyone's hearts. I want to say her name because she's really awesome. So her name is Bella Ramsey. Ramsey.
Go figure.
Go for it. And Essie Davis from The Babadook, as some people probably know, as Lady Crane, the actress. And it's such a hard job to come in such a beloved show with all these established characters and to make your mark. And those three in particular, I just adored this season, and sadly we won't be seeing one of them back, but hopefully we will be seeing, two of them back. Great. So, but hopefully we'll be seeing Leona a little bit more. Hopefully with a battle axe in her hand.
Nice.
Riding on the back of a bear.
Oh, come on.
Yes.
Come on, David Dan, give it to us. Kristen, what did you think of the season?
All right, I loved this season. There were some slower episodes, but even those I had no problems with. I like story building. I'm a huge fantasy fan, so all of the story building, the background is stuff I live for. My favorite stuff was like that Arthur Dane scene at the Tower of Joy. It's something I've been looking forward to since reading the books, and just how epic it was going to be, because these are like the best fighters in all of Westeros going at it, and it was just ridiculously amazing watching it become reality. And then outside of the stuff that people already talked about, just watching the dragons actually do some cool stuff was really awesome. Like burn some ships. I mean, stuff you want dragons to do, right? And not just be like cool to look at. So those were some of my favorite things. I also really liked that they didn't bring Jon back in the first episode. It created a nice amount of tension. If they had given it to us right away, I think it would have been a little too much fan service. And it left us kind of in that lurch that you are in when you read the books, because you have no idea where Jon is at the end of that last book, and you're just sitting there like, how can you leave me like this? So having that happen for another episode, as frustrating as it was also just really cool. Nice way to add some tension into the show.
I agree. I thought that the 2-episode wait time was like the perfect amount. Like it wasn't right away, but it was. I mean, some people were predicting like end of the season he would come back, kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Which that would have not been good. But 2 episodes I really liked too.
2 episodes was perfect.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right, Cole, can you hear us? We're having some technical difficulties. All right. We're going to move on. Cole, if you come back, we'll get your thoughts on the things that you loved about the season, too. So on the flip side, because, you know, I don't think anybody would call the season 100% perfect, there were a few things that some people had issue with. For those of you that read my reviews, you know that I hated that Sansa did not tell Jon about the Knights of the Vale. And I was waiting in episode 10 for a reason, because people kept telling me she's going to have like this crazy Machiavellian reason for not telling him. No. She basically just apologized and he kisses her on the forehead. Color me kind of upset. So I just didn't buy it as a character-motivated moment. I saw it merely as a plot device to, you know, have the army think all was lost right up until the end when they were magically rescued by the Knights of Vale. Awesome shot, not saying it wasn't awesome, just saying that I didn't think all of the beats leading up to it were motivated by anything other than just plot and story. So that was my big beef of the season, but were there any that you guys had? Let's go back down the line. So Kristen, why don't you start us off with this?
All right. Arya is one of my favorite characters. In the books, her storyline is amazing. And in the show, I think they paced it a little weird. So by the time you got to the end of the season when she was actually like doing stuff, I didn't want to care about her story anymore. They wasted so much time like building up her training and all this, and her being blind, and they left out some really crucial things from her book storyline about how she can warg into like a cat, and she has dreams that she's Nymeria, and so that really bothered me, just because they focused on so many things that I feel like didn't matter so much and left out a lot of really key points for her storyline. And then I really miss Dorne. Like, they showed it at the last episode, but it's such a cool place. I mean, the books, the way to describe it and the way to describe the culture and all the people, like, they're some badass people, and we've missed out on so much of what we could have seen. And I can't complain too much, because them allying with the Tyrells is ridiculous and really interesting, and it would be great to see if that holds up or if that falls apart, because they're upset at the Tyrells for Oberyn's death still. So, I mean, just some of that is a little kind of. I wish they would have talked about that sometime in that few seconds that we got to see Dorne. But those are just a few of my little nitpicks.
Gotcha. Jen, what are some of the things you didn't love about the season?
Similar to what you said earlier, Rachel, I found that this season in particular, there were a lot of moments where the story kind of failed. It felt like they had ideas for, oh, this would be a great scene, but they don't logistically know how to get there, so it gets a bit of a mess. Totally agree with Sansa. The Stark girls in particular, and Dany, for me, I am not a fan of Dany. Let's just get that out of the way. They really were, just whatever. Mother of Dragons. They all seem to be treading water more than usual this season. With Arya's whole training Jedi Daredevil arc, we all knew where it was going. We know she's not going to be no one. She's Arya Stark. She's one of the most popular characters in the books and the show. So why would she become no one is stupid. Sansa just out of the whatever. I have been a champion of Sansa ever since they were building up this arc of her since season 4. She has that entrance down the stairway in the Vale, and it's like she's entering the game now, and she really hasn't gone anywhere since that moment. So, and Dany is just, for someone who has said, like, I'm going to break the wheel, she has had the most cyclical storyline of all the people, and it just drives me crazy. But at least she's on her way now, so we'll see how it goes from there.
All right, we're going to give it a quick check. Cole, can you hear us? I don't think he can. Bummer. Cole's a really big Game of Thrones fan and was looking forward to this, but we'll have to keep moving down the line. Jason, talk a little bit about some of the things you maybe didn't love about the season.
Well, I'd say the biggest problem with this season was time management, because some episodes we'd only see each place in Westeros for like a minute, and then it would go to another episode where we spend like 20 minutes with Sam, and I am not a big Sam fan, and I just felt like that whole storyline was pointless, and so I just really wanted to get more of the stuff I actually cared about. I actually didn't have much of a problem with Arya Stark, because in this season you do actually see some development, but yeah, if you look through the past season to now, it is definitely a long arc that doesn't really go anywhere. But as this season as a whole, I think she was fine. But yeah, I just agree with the Knights of the Vale, that definitely big logic hole. And Sansa, I still have the stigma of season 1 Sansa, and so I just still have never gotten around to actually caring about her. And that's the thing, is this season was very big on Sansa, and so I just never got into it. But those are my only real problems. I love the season. So
Sweet. All right, Frank, what do you got for us?
Like a lot of other people, the Arya storyline was, when I had a problem with that, just especially when she gets stabbed in the stomach, a couple times, and then she's running through the town and all that. And that, aside from the storyline, that was a thing. The thing with Sansa not telling Jon about the Veil, I kind of looked at it as she wasn't sure if Littlefinger was going to show up. And so if she had told Jon and then he didn't show up, I think, I guess Jon could have been counting on that and maybe waited, and, we could have spared a lot more lives. So I kind of looked at it that way, but I also see the other side of it, so I'm very conflicted as to how to look at Sansa in that regard. But as her character as a whole, I love her arc now, that from where she's gone, where I really was just annoyed with her character, to how she's gone through everything with Ramsay, and now with Jon and all that. And then also they supposedly kill off Blackfish, which I know in the book he's not dead, but they don't know what's up with him. So, and then the fact that they killed him off screen is a little iffy to me because I think they killed a couple people off screen in that episode. I can't remember the other one. So I don't really remember that happening in the season. So because like the Hound's supposed to die, we didn't see him die, but we were supposed to assume that he died off screen, and he comes back. So I don't know if they're going to try and pull that same trick with Blackfish. That'd be really weird if they tried to do that. So that's pretty much all I can think of right now, yeah.
It's funny, when I think about the Blackfish thing, I think about the Stannis thing from last year and how so many people, well, like,
He's
we
alive.
didn't see the killing blow. He's alive. Like, we didn't see it. The show always shows death. Like, it loves showing us that stuff. So we were just so convinced, or for a lot of us, for a while, we're convinced he was coming back. So this year, when they did that with Blackfish, I'm more inclined to believe that he is actually dead because the show has allowed off-camera deaths. But you're right about the Hound. So, like, they really have just pulled another one of like maybe not, but because there was so much culling of characters this season, I also wonder if they're just like they just got rid of so many peripheral characters, and even though Blackfish is cool, he was never that major. So going into the final stuff, I don't know, but yeah, I really wish they had let him at least one sword swing against a guy to see him fight, but they didn't get it. Okay, Ben, what were your big dislikes of the season?
Real quick, how many seasons did we go without the Hound? Did he die in the season 4 finale?
1. It was the children, the season 4 finale.
Okay, I couldn't remember. So, based on that precedent, could still get Stannis back, but I trust Brienne. I trust Brienne when she said I killed
Totally
him.
alive.
But, as far as this season goes, kind of repeating what you guys said, the Arya storyline. I hated how nonchalant she was, running around with that money, buying.
Okay, hey guys, sorry about that. You probably just noticed a really quick edit. We, on the other hand, have been dealing with some technical issues for the last half an hour, but we're back. As you can see, we beheaded a couple of the guys on the way in, so we're down to just the 5 of us, and the girls outnumber the guys, but that makes sense because the season was all about the ladies, so we're keeping, in character here. So we just, went down the line and talked about some of our least favorite things about the season. There were a few, not too many though. I think by all accounts, we really, really loved season 6. So real quick, we're going to hand out some awards. We're going to start off with the obvious best episode and worst episode. Why don't you kick us off, Ben?
Best episode. I loved The Winds of Winter. I thought it was an excellent season finale. The Door would be a runner-up, but I think The Winds of Winter ended the season well. Kind of got us to a point where we're still excited for next season, but there's not really cliffhangers or anything like that. I hate it when a season ends with a cliffhanger. So Jon getting stabbed at the end of last season was not something I liked. But from the music at the beginning of the episode, watching Lancel follow a little boy into a basement, a little creepy, and then it got creepier once he was down there. The explosion, the big power play move by Cersei. What is she going to do next with no allies around her or anywhere, as a matter of fact? King of the North scene at the end redeemed a little bit of my dislikes of the Northern House throughout the season. Dany and Tyrion scene was awesome. Just an all-around great episode.
What about least favorite?
Least favorite. It's a tough one. There's some kind of forgettable episodes in the middle. As far as I wouldn't be able to put a name to one. When I was thinking about this earlier, I was writing about what I didn't like about the Battle of the Bastards, but that was too good of a battle to be the worst episode. The non-action stuff made up for the worst episode, in my opinion, but the battle stuff kind of made up for it.
All right. Frank, what about you? Best and worst?
Oh, by far my favorite was the Winds of Winter. That just from the the very beginning with that music playing, I was hooked out on the edge of my seat, waiting for what was going to happen between everyone getting ready and Cersei just taking her sweet time and knowing that she's up to something. Like, this is this the part, with the wildfire. So, and just that whole episode throughout, when they go from the little baby John, or whatever his real name is, and they go into soon to be King of the North, Jon Snow. So I just love that episode from beginning to end, and it is without a doubt my favorite episode they've ever done. And that's saying something, because I really loved Hard Home and Battle of the Bastards. So, but this one I think just gave me everything that I wanted. Least favorite, I'm trying to remember. I don't know if it was the 4th episode. I think Book of the Stranger. I think that one was a little. I remember the seasons, at least for me, starting off really well, and I know I didn't expect them to keep the pace of me enjoying each episode as well as I was. I can't remember if it was that one, but yeah, I'm having a hard time recalling least favorite episode.
That's a good problem to have.
Quick, I'll throw in my vote for least favorite episode. Whichever one it was where Arya was walking around like a moron before she got stabbed.
Broken Man.
Broken Man. That alone made it probably the worst episode of the season.
All right, Jen, what about you?
Let's keep going with The Winds of Winter is definitely my favorite episode, between Cersei finally burning them all as she's wanted to do for a really long time, and Tommen stepping down as king, and I love seeing love seeing the little birds finally peck Pycelle and Lancel. I can't understand why I hate Lancel so much, but I love to hate him, and to see him go out that way was phenomenal. I freaking love that episode. Least favorite. Well, let's get this out of the way. I wouldn't say least favorite. I had similar thoughts on Battle of the Bastards. That would be my most frustrating episode, because battle, cinematography-wise, the music, gorgeous. Loved it. Some of the best shots of the show so far. However, I'll refrain from swearing, but let's just say the storyline is, we'll say, a bit of a mess. Let's put that in nicer words than what I wanted to say. But least favorite episode, I think I have to go with episode 2. I put notes down before. I'm such a nerd. Episode 2 is Home, and that one, it was basically a long build-up to what everyone wanted is Jon. And until then, like, we just kept seeing Alistair Thorne knocking on the door saying, like, oh, can we come in and kind of take care of this? And Davos going to come back later, and that's kind of all that was really going on. The one thing that was good in that was we had Tyrion seeing dragons for the first time up close. That was a great moment. But other than that, it was just kind of filler episode until that great moment where everyone cheered that Jon was alive. So.
All right, Kristen, what about you?
All right. I couldn't decide between episode 9 and 10, but since everyone else chose 10, I really loved the Battle of the Bastards. I'm a history major, so I'm really into just old styles of warfare, and they did such a good job with just the planning of how that battle was going to happen, and the way they used the pikemen and everything. And I'm such a nerd about that kind of stuff that it really had me geeked out the whole episode. And just a lot of the shots were just amazing. The shot where Jon is standing idiotically in front of the oncoming swarm of cavalrymen. It's a beautiful shot, as frustrating as it is, and it's heartbreaking because he was so close to getting Rickon. He was so close, and the emotions were there, and it was such an emotional episode in that respect. And then you got the first half with Dany and the dragons, and I'm not a huge fan of Dany, but I do like when her storyline progresses in a good way. And so when she kind of steps up and says no more and looks at these slave masters and just says, pick one guy to die, and they single one guy out, and then Grey Worm just comes and slices the other two guys' heads off. That was I could not stop. I was jumping up and down and cheering, and then the dragons were burning ships, and I don't know. I really just thought that episode was it like completed me a little bit with seeing Ramsey getting beat up, and then you got some heartbreaking moments with Rickon and Wan, and I cried when Wan died because he was like such a special character to me, and in the books they had like such a like special relationship. And yeah, so I love the Battle of the Bastards. My least favorite episode, I probably would say episode 7 again, which is the unfortunate Arya being, pompous or whatever. But that I kind of imagine that she's still young. Like, this is a good reminder that she's still a child and doesn't really understand the danger that she's put herself in. And so that part didn't really bother me as much, but the whole of the episode, it started out really strong with the Hound and then kind of just eked on, and I loved McShane in the beginning of that, and I thought he was a great cameo, and I really liked that part of the episode, but the rest of it just kind of felt a little flat for me, and that's why I would put it at my worst, but it's not a low-hanging fruit by any means.
Just to add to that real quick, it also kind of throws away the possibility of getting Lady Stoneheart, I thought, with right there. So that was another thing that was really disappointing for that episode for me.
Yeah, I can see that for sure. I guess I have to say Winds of Winter, too. For the first 20 minutes alone, the show's just never done anything like that before. And I'm an editor, that's my career, so like pacing and rhythm are things that I always see in movies and television, and that opening 20 minutes is masterfully done. The music, the shot choices, the compositions, the pacing, the cutting, it just, there's such a mood and an ominous feel to it. And we all kind of suspected Cersei was going to burn them all, like that had been set up pretty well, but I was still on the edge of my seat as to how she was going to do it, how they were going to show her do it, who was actually going to be in the Sept when it happened. I was shocked they killed off Marjorie. So like they really, you just planned all that. And the shot when Tommen jumps out the window, the fact that the camera stays on the window and he walks out of frame and then comes back in, it's like, it's an emotional gut punch done visually, and it's just, I can't think of a better way to say than masterful. I actually think the rest of the episode was slight letdown compared to that. I did like the King of the North stuff, but I obviously hated the Sansa Jon stuff. I mean, Peter Littlefinger skeeves me out so badly I couldn't barely watch that scene. Yeah. Dany sailing is great, but like it's not that opening 20 minutes. From a standpoint of like an episode from start to finish, I think The Door is just incredible. There's so many storylines so well done in that one, and everybody talks about the Holder's death, but like I think the revelation that the Children of the Forest were the ones that created the Walkers, like there was so much mythology going on in that episode, and a lot of people have sort of forgotten that because the back half of the season was so much more about the Game of Thrones and less about the Walkers and the magic and that kind of stuff, which is that's the balance of the show. That's what the show does. But I think from start to finish, Hodor's revelation and his death, plus the revelation for the Children of the Forest and the other storylines, like that just felt like an incredibly complete and surprising and emotional episode from start to finish. So I would actually probably put a vote in for that. And then jumping off of that, I would say Blood of My Blood is my least favorite because it came after that, and like the Benjen Cold Hands rescue was a little convenient. And Benjen Stark is not Cold Hands in the books. Like, it's not possible. So it was weird that the show ended up going that road, but I kind of understand it at the same time. And then they didn't do anything with Benjen at all for the rest of the season. So I just felt like, oh, he's there to rescue them, and then, oh, bye. Okay. It was just like some weird kind of things. And then it was Dany's speech to the Dothraki looked amazing, but good Lord, like, it just felt very repetitive. And things she says every time, and like this is when people were starting to think that like she was going to become the Mad Queen because the way she was talking about like boarding the ships and going to burn everybody in Westeros and like destroy them and kill them and do all these horrible things to them. I'm like, really? You're supposed to be like the good person and the protagonist of the story. So there was just a lot of things in that episode that coming off of The Door were kind of a letdown, and then on top of that, I just felt slightly weird. So that would be my vote for my worst episode of the season. But episodes are hard to judge, and I think that it'd be a lot of fun to talk about scenes and moments because even from some of the worst episodes, some of the best scenes exist in those episodes, and you kind of skip over them because you think of the episode as a whole is maybe not that great. So let's talk about some of our favorite scenes, and then pick two, because again, I think so many of us might say Battle of Bastards or the first 20 minutes of Winds of Winter, because those were big. Even the death of Hodor, those were big moments. But that's sort of missing the point of some of the great, great quiet conversations and quotable moments. So just to sort of give you know, an example, I'll start off. I mean, I think the Battle of the Bastards, like Kristen, I was a history minor in college. Like, that was insane. Like, just the technical prowess of that, and then the visual masterpiece of it, and like the Jon almost getting trampled. Like, I felt suffocated. It was shot so well. And then like when he's like reborn coming out of it, and like that crush of people, and it was so frenetic, but you still could follow the action. That sweeping, you know, encirclement movement with the pikes and the shields, and it's just like, I was like standing in front of my TV going, how did you do that? It was amazing. But on the flip side, one of my absolute favorite scenes of the whole season was Jaime and Brienne in one of the not good episodes, which was No One. That was not a very good episode either, but that moment, you know, this is when Jaime Lannister's at his best, when he's not with his sister, and he had those two conversations when he met up with Brienne again, and then when he talked to Edmure Tully to get into River Run. I just felt like both of those were so telling of the kind of person that he wants to be but won't let himself be, and how Brienne is the only character that brings out the best in him, sees that he is actually a heroic character, but it's a tragic one because he's done all these decisions and he's let people believe all these things about him, that, you know, he'll go down in history as a villain, even though he's better than that. And the things he's done, like killing the Mad King and sending Brienne to rescue Sansa and Arya, and all those things, like, show that he is actually a really well-rounded character who's gone on this crazy arc and has good qualities to him. And I think that those conversations sort of show the duality of his character. And he's one of my favorite characters because of the arc he's gone on. So I loved those smaller moments, those conversations he had. They're just very telling for that. So two scenes, everybody. Your, you know, big action set piece kind of moment, and then, you know, a quieter character-driven, conversation-driven scene. Kristen, start us off.
Okay. We've really already talked about a lot of my favorites. The setup for that wildfire scene and Tommen and everyone in the Sept was just so masterfully done. And I think that's been talked about to death, but it was a beautiful scene and had a lot of depth of emotion and a lot of depth of just character and development and surprise, really. I had no idea some of it was coming. And so that was one of my favorites of the season. And then a more lighthearted scene was when Tyrion is like trying to get Grey Worm and whatever her name is, to Melisandre.
Missandei.
Yep. Yeah. So when he's trying to get them to tell jokes, I was just sitting there laughing, and I couldn't stop because it was so awkward, but it was also really, like, character-driven, and it was really endearing, and it really showed, like, the level of character that Tyrion has, and that he wants to kind of get them involved into this world. He wants to get them out of their shells that they've been in since they've been slaves. And he wants them to kind of become their own people and not just be the people they were bred and born to be. And I loved it so much, especially when Grey Worm is just like, that's the worst joke I've ever heard. Like, just so deadpan. And, like, just the perfect delivery of the line, and had me just, like, rolling laughing. It was one of my favorite scenes, just really touching to see this quiet moment between these people that, you know, really kind of tried to get their characters more into being, you know, individuals.
Nice. Jen, what about you?
I'm going to go with two kind of smaller moments just so I don't step on anybody. One of my favorite moments of the season was actually when Theon and Sansa are escaping Ramsay, which was, yeah, finally. And Brienne comes swooping in with Podrick and saves her ass, basically. And then we get to see it's a beautiful moment with all these characters that in the past have failed in their own various ways, finally meeting up. And we have Brienne, who personally I believe has never, even though she has given Jaime so much crap for being the Oathbreaker, she has never upkept an oath because Stannis is totally alive. So having her finally meet up again with Sansa and start to pledge her fealty to her, and having Sansa have that moment of, remembering I am a lady of the North and this is traditional. So she had that moment where it looked like she was going to start turning into Catelyn Stark because we're so sad about losing our Lady Stoneheart. It seemed like it might get into that kind of category, and Theon just failing and seeing like this is what it's supposed to be like to serve someone correctly, and Podrick having to come in and give Sansa her little cues in the side. It was just a beautiful moment all around for all those characters to see that. And then on the other side, basically any scene with Bronn, he always lights up the screen whenever he's on. To see him with Jaime going to River Run, that was a surprise that he's going to be on there. So we get part 2 of the adventures of Cooper and Darnell, and him playing with Podrick, roughhousing and everything. He's just fantastic. I wish he was on the screen at all times.
Very good choices. Frank, what about you?
One of my favorite scenes was when Tyrion goes down to free the dragons, from their chains. That whole story he gives, I thought it was just how he always loved dragons, wanted a dragon, and now he's finally in front of these 2 dragons. And I thought it was just his performance and the way the dragons looked. Even I think it's one of the best versions of the dragons we've seen. And I really love that whole scene with him talking to the dragons, because it was just very sincere and pure Tyrion confessing his love for these dragons, and explains why probably they didn't fry him on sight, And then actually another scene that I really liked was the scene between Sansa and Littlefinger right by the weirwood tree. When you first get into that shot, it's like a wide pan or a wide shot, and you see just the snow on the ground, the tree, and the red leaves contrasting, the white, and you have them walking over there. To me, that was just a visually striking. The conversation that they have as well kind of gave me more faith that, because I heard people worrying that Littlefinger is undermining her and Jon's relationship, and that he's building mistrust between them, and I wasn't really buying into that, because her whole argument was that she didn't tell him about Knights of the Vale and all that, and so I like that she still has her guard up for him, and it was a nice, soft, gentle. What's the word? I can't even think of the word. Rebuffed him, I guess, is that the word? So it kind of let me know that she's still very cautious of Littlefinger, and as someone who's gaining more and more love for Sansa in the story as her character, I was glad to see that scene. So that was visually and just the interaction between the characters was one of my favorites that happened.
Cool. All right, Ben, what do you think?
Yeah, you guys all picked pretty good scenes. Frank with Sansa and Littlefinger. I actually did like both of the Sansa big scenes in the last episode. Her talking with Jon kind of redeemed a little bit of episode 9 for me. Even though it'd been nice to know she had a little bit of a plan, but Jon forgiving her right away fits so well in with his character, what he would do. And a lot of seasons, I thought we got stuff where they did stuff that they wouldn't do. But my favorite scene, I've been trying to think through the question. I had one, and now I'm blanking on it. Oh God, this isn't gonna look good.
There's just too many good ones.
Yeah, there was so many good ones. I don't want to talk about the last 2 episodes because my favorite scene of the season was the King of the North one, but we've talked about all that already. I was going to talk about Bran and his visions. I just like getting all those little Easter eggs, seeing Jaime with the Mad King, and getting to see the Mad King for the first time. Not as crazy looking as I was hoping the Mad King would be, but still getting to see him was nice. The foreshadowing with you see the wildfire go off in the vision, exactly how it went off in the last episode. And seeing the Tower of Joy for the first time. Been wanting to see that for so long. It was almost a perfect representation of that scene from the books. The entire start of the conversation basically being the exact same. I really like that. Would have been nice to see Dawn, but that whole Tower of Joy scenes, I like them both a lot. So I'd say that's my favorite non-last two episode scenes.
Good way to put it. All right, we're going to do some rapid fire questions. So, like, these are not to be overthought. These are just, like, say the first thing that comes to your head, and, you know, we'll just go through them and get a lot of stuff out there because there's so much to talk about and clearly not nearly enough time to talk about all of it. So, I'm going to go, Jen. Who's creepier, Littlefinger hitting on Sansa or Walder Frey hitting on a disguised Arya?
Oh, man. Walder Frey is just so creepy at all times, but that's kind of his charm. But like, I think at this point we all expect Littlefinger he just creeps on Sansa. That's his deal. So I'd have to go with Walder.
All right. Kristen, best supporting role of the season, Lyanna Mormont or Olenna Tyrell?
Mormont, is that even a question?
Oh, I don't know. The Queen of Thorns is pretty good.
Queen of Flowers.
She was such a breakout role, and she's a young actress, and she was a character that no one expected to be big. Like, no one thought, this character is going to be awesome in the show, and she just came out swinging and became, like, the internet sweetheart. So I don't know that there's much better than Lyanna Mormont at this point. Seeing where her character goes is something I'm really looking forward to, because she was ridiculously awesome in this season.
I agree.
She's the reason I like the King of the North scene so much. She was the best part of it.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. I mean, if you read that on paper, that like a little girl gets like shames all the lords of the North into bowing down to Jon Snow, I would be like, I don't think that's gonna work. But then Bella Ramsey was so incredible in it, and she'd had that great previous scene that like everybody just totally bought it. Frank, who had the more satisfying death, Ramsay, Walder Frey, or just to throw a third option in there, Ollie?
I mean, initially, I'm gonna say Ramsay. That to me it wasn't exactly quite how I wanted it to go down. I think I wanted it to be a little more personal between Sansa and Ramsay, but you know, but with the dogs, I think that was a fitting end nonetheless for Ramsay. I wasn't really, you know, Ollie. You know, the fact that he didn't say anything was a little. I'd put it second, least or most gratifying. Yeah, I think that's how it would go.
Okay. Ben, from the whole series perspective, who was worse, Ramsay or Joffrey?
Ooh, Jen probably knows this. She's seen me talk on or comment on the reviews that Collider does. I hated Ramsay. Not just because I hated him, but I didn't like his character. So, I didn't enjoy hating him. I thought he was, I thought he had too many convenient things go his way, and I really, really hated the character from that point of view.
Okay. Let's see. Kristen. So Dany finally has ridden a dragon and seems to have pretty good control over them. If you could pick two other characters to ride the two other dragons, who would they be?
I would say Jon and Tyrion, because that's kind of the easy answer, but I would love it if it was like Jon and Arya, just because I think Arya could like warg into the dragon or something, and that would be just awesome. So awesome.
Definitely true.
Ice dragons.
Yeah.
Oh, jeez.
So cool.
Or do we
Sweet.
count here that Bran could war against the
Bran.
dragon?
That
is
would be cool
certainly
too. Yeah.
a very big theory out there. Okay, Frank, where do you think Dany will land in Westeros next season?
I think she's probably going to go to Dragonstone first.
Oh, interesting.
Because I think that's where I think the Targaryens would have the heir stay to the throne. If I'm
Yes,
okay.
Prince, they call them the Prince of Dragons. So.
Yeah, so I think she's probably going to go there, and that would be my guess. I think that'd be her first step into reclaiming everything that the Targaryens lost.
Okay, Jen, what was the most emotional moment of the entire season for you? Excuse me.
The entire season?
Yeah.
It's got to be Hold the Door. Hodor is he is a sweet little angel that never hurt nobody, and he just hardest job in the world, trekking around the north with Bran, and yeah, it was a beautiful moment, but it was also heart-wrenching, and it was one of the more unexpected things, and probably because that is one of the things that we know for sure that will be in the book.
Right.
Which is a little sad that we experienced that on the show instead of the book for us book readers. But still, it was a fabulous moment for Hodor.
Martin will find a way to do it slightly different, or even a lot different. Like, I think that the whole time thing will be part of it, but he'll find a way. He's determined to find a way at this point to make those books different than the show. All right, Ben, where is Arya headed next? Is she, because we assume she's probably going to hear the news, right? And she's at the Twins or nearby in the Riverlands, so she's probably going to hear that Jon and Sansa have taken Winterfell. But she's also got this list, and Cersei and the Mountain are both on the list, so she could head to King's Landing. Or is there somewhere else you think she might head?
I could see her pulling a little bit of a Lady Stoneheart replacement, and end up back with the Brotherhood without banners, especially with the Hound there. It'd be nice to see her reconnect with the Hound. Arya and the Hound on their adventures was always a lot of fun to watch.
True.
But if I had to guess, I would think, I don't know how, but I could see her ending up back with the Brotherhood with banners.
Cool. All right. Let's try a whole bunch of them down. Frank, who's more quotable, Tyrion or Olenna Tyrell?
Man. Because that last scene she had in Dorne Olenna, I mean, where she just
She puts the sand down. Oh, that was awesome.
But I mean, I drink and I know things. It's gotta be Tyrion. I mean, it just, I don't know what else to say about the guy. I mean, he has all the best lines.
All right, Jen, when's the wall coming down? It's going to be next season, season 8. Do you think the whole thing's coming down? You think it's just going to be breached in one spot? How are the White Walkers getting south? Jen?
Oh, is that directed at me? Okay,
Yeah.
I keep cutting out every once in a while.
No worries.
I would say probably that would be the season finale of next season. I thought it was going to be the season finale of this season, so
I did too,
season finale
actually.
next season.
Yeah, I said at the beginning of this season, I told my friends, I had one of two predictions. Either the last shot is Dany sailing for Westeros, or the last shot is the wall is breached. So,
Yeah.
50-50.
I kind of wanted the other one, so I'm a little upset about that. But
Yeah, I can hear that.
I thought it was going to come this season, so I'm leaning towards a little earlier next season, just because Bran's right by the wall, and he's going to be the reason it happens.
You think that because he has the mark, he's going to be the reason they can cross?
Yeah, it's the whole dead things can't cross it, but dead things also can get in the cave.
True enough. Bran is responsible for a whole lot if that happens.
Yes, he is really messing stuff up right now.
Kristen, this season there was so many reunions, or not even just reunions, but characters finally coming together in ways. If you could pick 2 characters to meet up next season that you really want to work together or meet up, who would it be?
Oh, man. I personally would love it, and I wanted it to happen this season. I would love it if we would get, like, the 2 powerhouse females in the show to meet up, and we would get, like, an Arya-Dany alliance, which I think would just be really cool. But I would love that. I would also love Arya and the Hound, so I'm really torn, because they're just, like, such a good buddy cop kind of show whenever they're on. I love it so much. So, yeah. One of those.
Okay. Let's go down the line and everybody give out your best acting awards. We can do best actor and best actress to make it a little easier. I'll start off. I think Lena Headey just deserves best actress this season. And she's always good, but and not even just the last episode. I think the first episode, that long shot on her face when she sees Jamie sailing up on the Dornish ship and Marcella's body is on the ship. She has such a look of hopefulness, and she's just so happy she's about to see her daughter, and then as it slowly dawns on her that Jamie's sailing towards her with a casket, basically, the look on her face, it's really minuscule, but it slowly drops, and it just slowly goes from happiness to disbelief to just pure and utter devastation. And it's in basically one shot, and Lena Headey is just incredible in that moment. And then she just sells the whole season. I mean, and she's full on Maleficent now. She's just, she's the new big bad. I feel like, Ramsay's dead, so in steps Cersei next season. For the guys, I have to give it to Liam Cunningham for Davos, who is one of my favorite characters, but between his pep talk when Jon, is resurrected, and it's such an amazing talk about Jon's talking about how he failed and he can't do this, and Davos is like, well, get out there and fail again. This is life. You have to deal with this. I can't even imagine what you're going through right now, but you have to get out there. And I thought that was great. But then what took the cake was his impassioned speech against Melisandre about the death of Shireen, and he's tearing up and choking up as he's talking about his little friend and how this woman burned her alive, and he just cannot contain himself when he's usually a very contained character. And I thought Liam Cunningham broke my heart in that moment. So those would be my 2 awards. Ben, what would yours be?
Kind of in a supporting role, you got to give a shout out to Bella Ramsey. Lyanna Mormont was my favorite character of the season. She got the best mean mug of any actress I've ever seen. Great child actress. But so I'll give a shout out to Bella Ramsey, but I think also would like to mention Maisie Williams. She didn't have much to work with this season, but she still kept me loving her as a character despite not having much to work at. When she's watching the play, which wasn't a great scene, but she was great in it. Just the way, seeing the changes in emotion with her as she's watching how everybody around her thinks that Joffrey and Cersei are the sympathetic things, and she has to watch in a different version her dad get killed again. I thought that was fantastic. And then she pulls off the little psychotic killer still. She was fantastic in the killing Walder Frey. Best actor, I would go with, let's see. Let's go with, I'd say most improved would be Kit Harington. I thought he was kind of slow and not the best actor and kind of boring through most of the things. But after he came back, I think we got to see the type of actor he can be he is so much better at showing. I thought I finally got some emotion from him besides being sullen. I thought his scenes with Sansa were good. So I thought he got a lot better this year and deserves a shout out as well.
Nice. Frank, what about you? Best actor, best actress?
The best actor, I would give it to High Septon, Jonathan Pryce.
Nice.
I just hated him almost for no reason. He was just, and it's weird because Well, yeah, yeah. I mean, because he's going against Cersei, who is another villain, and he made me sympathetic towards Cersei. And when you can do that, just his speeches he would give, which would also lead me into Best Actress would be Natalie Dormer for Marjorie. I thought her transformation of being, a prisoner and then figuring out playing like this ruse on the High Septon of I'm all for the gods and all that, and trying to just her scheming of getting out of the situation to probably get out of King's Landing as who she can with her brother. Her whole performance for me, especially with the High Septon and those scenes, and even I think with Tommen, to me those are just some of the more best performances that I can recall in the season, in the show.
Nice, great choices. Jen, what about you?
For Best Actor, I have to agree with Kit Harington. The first season, I could not stand him. Every single, it is part of the character. He's supposed to be this child kind of thing thrust into this situation. But he had that blank face on with the open mouth, and it was just, I would laugh at him the whole time. And my sister loves him, so fights every day. But he has grown so much. I think as the seasons have progressed, he's gotten only better and better. And this season in particular, it was his season to really shine. For Best Actress, I wanted to say Melisandre. You might see my shirt. I'm wearing my Lord of Light shirt. My Red Priestess, because her opening with the first episode, having that scene that was kind of hinted towards in the books, we never quite got there, seeing her transformation to really, it looked like they were going to go down this path of her doubt in her faith and everything, and I was like, oh, this is going to be so interesting, and then she kind of just faded away after Davos convinced her to bring back Jon, and she just kind of sidetracked. So I'd have to, because of that, I'd have to go Cersei. I definitely agree with the first episode. She is so good with her facial expressions and just reacting to something with no dialogue. Yeah, she's fabulous. I love her, so I'm so glad that she's finally on the throne right now. Just going nuts with it.
All right, Kristen, what about you?
All right, so you actually took both of mine.
Me?
Yeah. So, I mean, I could pick seconds, but I was kind of in the same boat where Chris Van Houten, who plays Melisandre, I thought in those first couple episodes was just really fantastic and had a lot of really great kind of character development, and that was actually her face on that old woman, and the body was completely different, but the face was hers and a ton of makeup, and the eyes really spoke to me in that scene, just this really depressed, hopeless kind of face that I mean, I felt so uncomfortable in that scene outside of the fact that there was this really ancient woman's body around. Her expression in that scene was really uncomfortable to watch. Just kind of this lost, hopeless face. But Lena Headey was just amazing. She wears her expressions so well, and she's such an expressive actress that it's hard not to buy what she's selling. And I mean, Liam Cunningham is amazing. He's been one of my favorite characters for seasons. He plays his role so well, and he had to sell the first couple episodes as the main character because Jon wasn't there. And he did such a good job stepping up on that, and he really just, I don't know, he kind of exploded into the series as something other than just the second person. He became a main character, and he became someone that shaped the game, and I thought that was awesome.
Nice. Good choices all around, guys. So I put together a little Schmoedown quiz. I have no idea how this is going to work. So we'll try it and see what happens. So I want to play it like the boys do with sudden death. I'm going to read a question. Let me finish the question. Once I do, shout your own name. don't shout too loudly, because I'd like to have my eardrums in place. And then hopefully I'll be able to discern which one of you said it first, and I will call on you to say the answer. Now, to keep you from just yelling your name every time and guessing, if you get it wrong, you're out. So only, quote-unquote, buzz in if you think you really know the answer. We'll play to whoever gets 5 points, or whoever's last man standing, or until I run out of questions. So I'll give this a try. Like I said, this is new, people. We haven't tried this before.
I like it.
Let me finish the question. If you know the answer, shout your name. Don't shout the answer. What is Danny's black dragon named?
Ben.
Ben.
It is
5, 4, 3.
Drogon.
Yep. Yeah. No Googling it. Like, this has to be like.
Oh, yeah.
Guys.
I
All right.
do it and then blink and pressure the lights.
Yes, exactly. All right. So Ben's got 1. I'm gonna write this stuff down. 1. Okay. What was Rickon's direwolf called?
Kristen.
Ben.
Jen.
Kristen.
Oh gosh, I said it. It's Shaggy Dog.
Yep. Who said, "I drink and I know things"?
Ben.
Jen.
Frank.
Tyrion.
Yep. Nice job, guys. Those are the easy ones, of course. What god does Melisandre serve?
Frank.
Frank.
Jen.
The Lord of Light.
Yep. Frank's got 2.
Lower.
I would have accepted either. What castle is Jaime tasked with retaking from the Blackfish?
Jen.
Jen.
River Run.
Nice. She's on the board. What was the name of the knight young Ned had to fight at the Tower of Joy?
Kristen.
Ben.
Kristen.
That was Arthur Dane.
Yep. You guys are good. Which house has the words, "We do not sow"?
Ben.
Ben?
Greyjoys.
Nice. Let's see. What is the name of Sam's father's Valyrian steel sword?
Jen.
Jen.
Heartsbane.
Nice. Tied up 2 apiece. I'm going to run out of questions. What disease does Jorah have?
Ben.
Jen.
Ben.
Grayscale.
Yep. What is the hound's actual name?
Kristen.
Jen.
Kristen.
Sandor.
Yep. Nobody's gotten anything wrong. Okay. What is the animal that is part of the House Mormont sigil?
Jen.
Kristen.
Jen.
The bear.
Jen. Yep. Nice.
I'm scared with lag here. I'm like, ah!
The symbol of the faith is a star. How many points does it have?
Ben.
Jen.
Ben.
7.
Yep. Ben gets 1 more. He wins. What is the name of the high red priestess that talks to Tyrion in Varys?
Jen.
Jen.
Invara.
Nice.
Nice.
1 more for Jen, and she
dear.
wins. What was Hodor's real name?
Frank.
Ben.
I think that was Frank.
In the show,
In the show,
Will.
not the books. Everything here is show.
Willis.
Yes. Nice. Who besides Jon is the only character to have been brought back from the dead on the show?
Ben.
Ben.
Beric Dondarrion.
And Ben wins. You guys are good. Well done. Everybody. Ben got 5, Frank got 3, Jen got 4, Kristen got 3. Nicely done.
Nobody's out. Woo.
Yeah, exactly.
We're not losers.
Oh yeah, the 5 of us were the ones that made.
Well,
And I almost knocked myself out on Drogon. Very first question.
I was gonna go insane.
All right, to end our discussion, I thought maybe we could rank the seasons. I know that it might not be what your ultimate ranking will be, because I don't know about you guys, I usually have to watch a season a couple times before it really settles in for sure, but just, without overthinking it too much, where would season 6 fall in your ranking? But just, let people know what your season rankings are. Anybody ready to go off the bat? Or do you need to think about it?
I can go.
All right, Ben, what do you got?
Definitely seasons 2 and 1 are the top two. Season 2 and season 1.
Nice.
Then I'd probably go season 3, season 6, season 4, season 5.
Nice. Frank,
Roughly.
Yeah. Nope. Hey, we're all allowed to change our minds. It happens. Frank, what do you think?
I mean, my favorite is 6, this past one, and then it would be 2, and then I would go 1. And after that, I'm not sure, but my least favorite would be 5. So somewhere in there, 3 and 4. I'm not. Yeah, I don't know. Between those.
It's not
We're all
easy.
great.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Jen, what's your order?
Oh, I gotta go. I loved. It might have to do with that was the first one I was watching live, but it was season 4 is my favorite. It was just the moment where everyone was kind of hitting the apex of their storyline, top of the world, and then falling off. And I freaking love Oberyn and Tywin. And they were just phenomenal that season. After that, I'd have to go probably 2, 1, 6, 3, and then 5. I didn't really care for season 5. I need to rewatch season 3. I feel like that one gets lost. Everyone just remembers the Red Wedding, and then everything else in there just kind of gets lost in the jumble of 2. But, yeah.
Kristen, what about you?
I'm really close to everyone else. I feel like we all have very similar thoughts. But I think my favorite was 4. I loved just the big battle sequence, and I really liked the way the characters developed in that season. And then I think I would put 1, and then 2, and then 6, and then 3 and 5 are kind of a toss-up for me because there were big moments in both, but I think I would put 5 at the end of the list as well.
Yeah, that seems to be a recurring theme. I'm going to put 5 at the end as well. But I think I might differ a little bit from you guys. Season 3 is my favorite, not because of the Red Wedding. I actually think it's not my favorite season, episode 9 of the series. But I love the Wildlings, and I love John's journey got much more interesting for me when he was, with Tormund and Ygritte and, doing the double agent thing. Also, season 3 is when Sam killed a walker, so Sam the Slayer all the way. And I felt 3 was when things really started moving and came together for me. So it's also based on my favorite book of the series, which is Storm of Swords. So season 3, then season 4, then season 6, then 2, then 1. And it just makes it sound like I don't like 1. Obviously, I love 1. I love them all. But you got to put them somewhere. And then season 5 to wrap it up. So I think that's it. Thank you guys so much for hanging through a lot of technical difficulties and everything else, but it's just been a blast to talk Game of Thrones with other really big fans, also because we're all fans of the Schmoes and what they represent and everything like that. So thank you for joining these Schmoeville Google Hangouts will be happening weekly. Hopefully you guys will be panelists on future episodes. Hopefully I'll be able to host a few here and there too. So if you just want to, shout out your Twitter handles or anything you guys got going on the web that you'd like people to follow you on, now is your chance. I'll start. You can follow me at Rachel J. Cushing or Get Real with Rachel, Real with 2 E's on Twitter. You can also find my movie reviewing website for that. And also, I'm just, one of the people behind the schmoesknow.com website relaunch. If you have any questions about contributing or what we're doing over at the site, don't hesitate to message me. We definitely want you guys involved. So, Kristen, where can people find you?
I have an Instagram. You can look at pictures of my dogs. It's Smith_K10. I have a Twitter, but I haven't been on it in years, so don't follow it if you can find it.
Jen, what about you?
You can find me trolling around Schmoeville making nonsense memes for the Schmoes Know meme recap every Monday, and Twitter is Jen Kemp at JK Meme Queen, made strictly for Schmoeville. I am really bad at Twitter. So, yeah, and Stannis totally lives, so yeah, deal with that.
Stannis
Clinging to that. All right, Frank, what about you?
My Twitter is FrankieJ29. I'm the king of retweets, so I retweet a ton of stuff. I rarely have any of my own thoughts go out there, but and then after Schmoeville, I have been starting to. I'm like huge into the Schmoedown, so I have just like stats on almost anything regarding the Schmoedown. So if you want to know a stat, send me a message. I can probably figure it out for you, whatever it may be. So there's that.
Nice.
How about how many times JT is cheating?
Oh, that's 0. There was a trial, didn't you know?
Even on Schmoeville Google Chats, we have to discuss cheating. All right. Ben, finish us off.
All right. I guess I'm on Twitter at B3Maliske, and you can see me trolling around on Schmoeville as well. I got my first board exam coming up for medical school, so if everybody, in a couple weeks, so if everybody would wish me some luck, I'd really appreciate that.
Good luck.
Definitely. Good luck. All right, guys, that wraps up our Game of Thrones Schmoeville Google Chat. Thanks for hanging with us. We hope you tune in for some more. And we're going to end with Gendry is still rowing. All right, guys. Bye.